One of the things that I have discovered over the years working with lots of new mums is that the thing they often struggle with is interpreting what their baby is trying to tell them. And I completely understand this. I mean, for someone who's worked with babies for so many years, I can hear a cry or watch a movement or a subtle thing that a baby does, and it's easier for me to think what's going on and interpret what's going on. But for a new mum, your baby's crying, they might be squirming, maybe biting, making strange noises, they might be putting their legs up. You just don't know what that means. And one of the most important things that you need to interpret when you've got a new baby is watching for their sleep cues. Because as I'm always saying, an overtired baby is going to be very difficult to handle. An overtired baby will not go to sleep easily, ironically, because the more they cry and the more het up they get, the more adrenaline and cortisol they produce, and that makes it harder for them to fall asleep. And when they do fall asleep, they tend to nap for very short periods of time because there's just too much of that energy hormonal stuff going on in their bodies, and so they can't sleep for long. So I thought today we'd talk about what sleep cues are, what they mean, and how you as a new mum or a new parent can interpret those sleep cues to make sure that you and your baby can start developing a really healthy sleep schedule. Because if you know when your baby's tired and you can react appropriately, it's going to make a huge difference moving forward. So what are baby sleep cues? They usually happen in 3 stages. I like to think of them as there's the cues that tell you I'm tired, then there's the cues that tell you I'm quite tired, and then there's the cues that tell you I am extremely tired and now I don't know what to do with myself. So we're going to run through some of the well-known cues that you can look out for. And your aim is not to get to the hysterically tired baby. You want to pick up on it earlier. And some of these signs are very subtle, and some of them are a bit more obvious. So let's take a look at what they are so that you can learn to decipher what your baby is trying to tell you. Early signs that your baby is needing to sleep are yawning, going still, and often staring off into space because they won't make eye contact. The first signs of sleep are sort of more of a disinterest in what's going on around them. So that's quite subtle. You might think, oh, baby's quite quiet, but you won't really necessarily think that they're tired. So the next stage, if you've missed the more subtle ones, are a bit more obvious. And this means that they need to sleep pretty quickly. So this could be pulling at their ears, they could be rubbing their eyes, jerky movements, general fussiness, something's not quite right. So this second stage is a lot more animated than the subtle first phase. And that doesn't matter if you haven't noticed it to begin with, but by this stage, you should really be acting quite quickly in order to let your baby go to sleep, because you don't want it to escalate into the next stage, which is a lot more difficult to handle. So when you get to the third stage, if your baby starts arching their back, screaming and crying really loudly, the chances are that you've missed the initial sleep cues and now they are overtired. This is a situation ideally you don't want to be in, but there are things that you can do to cope with an overtired baby or a baby that's resisting sleep. Learning your baby's sleep cues is one of the first important lessons that you need to learn as a parent. And it will make your parenting journey so much easier if you can pick up on those subtle cues. Working in conjunction with knowing how long your baby can stay awake, you can then start to establish an all-important schedule for your baby. They like to know when things are going to happen and they like to feel secure. So I am a great advocate of a basic schedule. I also believe in flexibility and I believe in adapting from day to day, depending on what's been going on in your child's day. But basically, a schedule is a really good framework to help you as a new parent to build on. On our website, you'll find a multitude of sleep schedules for every age group. Even if you're not just a new parent, but your baby's a few months old, we've got a sleep schedule for it. So if you go to the website, you will certainly find a sleep schedule that will fit in with the stage that your child is at. And it'll give you an idea of how long they could stay awake, and it'll give you an idea of how often they need to sleep, and gives you a bit of a framework to work with. So when we talk about sleep cues, we also have to talk about wake windows because they go hand in hand. When you're trying to interpret what a sleep cue is, if you know that your baby has been awake for that period of time that is age appropriate, that they're probably leading up to a nap time, then it's easier for you to interpret the sleep cues, because sleep cues also have to be taken in context. And that's what's so tricky for new mums, especially learning what their babies are trying to tell them, because some sleep cues aren't always always an indicator, ironically, that they want to go to sleep. Sometimes you have to take it in context as to what else has been going on, about when they've been fed, when they had a last diaper change, maybe they just need a change of scenery, or they want to cuddle. But if you know your wake windows for your baby and you're beginning to notice those signals when it's coming up to nap time or sleep time, then you are pretty much certain that those are sleep cues that your baby's giving you and that you need to give them the opportunity to nap. So for instance, a newborn baby, if they've been awake for about an hour and they start to show some of these signs, I would almost certainly say there's a big chance that they need to go to sleep. It's also important to appreciate that every baby's different, and I'm always saying that. So some babies are able to stay awake for a bit longer, while others need to sleep more often. By the same token, they will need to sleep more often at certain times of the day than they will at others. That's how a nap routine starts to develop. You need to be very observant, watch the sleep cues, and then you need to think to yourself, how long have they been awake? But if they look like they're really tired, don't try and keep them awake to fit the schedule. Never do that. As much as I advocate schedules, if a young baby is showing signs of being tired, then you must let them sleep. My advice would be let them sleep when they need to sleep, and you'll probably find that they will stay awake a bit longer at another part of the day, which eventually balances things out. I would always say that if you respond to the sleep cues and you pick your baby up and you change their diaper and the sleep cues go away, chances are they didn't need to sleep. If you go through those stages and getting them ready to sleep and they're still showing the sleep cues, then they probably do need to go to sleep. It's also important to remember that for young babies, a very short nap can often recharge them. You might end up with them just almost having a cat nap. That's okay. So respond to the sleep cues, let them have a short nap. And if they wake up 15, 20 minutes later, that really doesn't matter. It just means they took the sleep they need. They're very good at recharging themselves over a short period of sleep time. So there you have it, the complex world of sleep cues, which can be quite daunting, I know. So to make it easier, we have created a PDF that we're going to put in the description box below. That's a quick rundown of those 3 stages of sleep cues. So you can have those to hand so you can start to learn what are the likely cues that your baby is giving you, and hopefully that'll make it easier for you. There's also going to be lots of links in the description box below, as I mentioned earlier, about helping your baby fall asleep if they're fighting sleep, and also if they've become overtired because you happen to have missed the sleep cues, and you don't need to panic because there are things that you can do. If you have enjoyed this video, then like, comment and subscribe, because the more I know that you like what we're doing, then the more I can produce. And if you've got any questions or you have any suggestions about subjects that you'd like me to cover, then please let me know. And for any sleep issues that you're having, please check out our free bedtime and nap cheat sheet by following the link below in the descriptions. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the description box below this time. I hope you find that helpful. I know it's a tricky one. Please, if you have any questions, then just send us a message and we'll get back to you. Thank you for listening.